This is Brave Astrology, and today we'll be discussing the new moon of November 20th, 2025. And I can't wait to dive into this one because I am absolutely floored by what I'm seeing in this new moon chart. The theme for this new moon is balance, synergistic relationships. Now, before we delve into the analysis, I do want to remind everyone of my approach to astrology. I utilize sidereal astrology, meaning that I look to the actual constellations and stars involved in the astrological alignments. This can differ from the tropical Western signs that many see on the tropical charts, because over time, our relationship to the sky has changed, but our tropical Western charts have not evolved along with that. So, this new moon, which on the Western chart is said to be occurring at 28 to 29 degrees of Western Scorpio. However, I will be interpreting this new moon as aligning with the constellation of Libra. In fact, we will have 4 planetary bodies aligning with Libra, since retrograde Mercury is very tightly conjunct the new moon. And we also have beautiful, gorgeous planet Venus transiting through Libra as well. Now, the sun is considered to be debilitated in Libra, but have no fear, because Venus, on the other hand, is absolutely loving this transit, because now she is where she belongs, creating beauty, creating loveliness. Libra is where Venus is in her immaculate beauty. That is her placement of immaculate strength. And not only that, we also have Mars at 11 to 12 degrees of Western Sagittarius, which is actually in the Scorpio constellation. This is the constellation that Mars rules. And like Venus, he is also in his fortitude. He is here in Scorpio in his immaculate strength. So, what a magnificent combination to have these polarized energies, both the Venusian and the Martian energies, that are both happy and comfortable at the same time. To me, it suggests some much needed balance. Is that not what Libra is all about? Libra is finding balance, equilibrium, the scales of justice. And when those scales are not balanced appropriately, and when those polarized energies do not appreciate the other side, the other's perspective, the other's contributions, that is when our equilibrium is thrown off kilter and our scales become imbalanced. And one of the things that can often create that disequilibrium is when the ego is over prioritized and when we don't communicate fairly with the other side. So I think the sun's debilitation here, which can represent ourself, our ego, while it's conjunct retrograde Mercury, also in Libra, it's telling us that we need to dim our ego sometimes and communicate in a way that allows for both balance and for both sides to win. That is how you keep both Venus and Mars content and allow both to be in their domicile positions. Venus in Libra and Mars in Scorpio. Now, something else we have to pay attention to, it's this opposition of the new moon to Uranus at 29 to 30 degrees of Western Taurus, which just also happens to be the constellation of Taurus, specifically in a region known as the Pleiades, or some call it the Seven Sisters. But in Vedic astrology, this is known as the nakshatra kritika, and it's associated with cutting sharp objects, such as a knife or an axe. And this very much reminds me of the suit of swords in the tarot deck, which is often associated with thoughts and words, because words can be powerful. They can be used to cut your confusion, to clarify, to explain. But they can also be used to hurt a person's feelings. And I think the tight opposition of the new moon with retrograde Mercury in Libra in its opposition to Uranus in Kritika is signaling just that. Now we need to strike a balance with our shocking and surprising and Uranian communications that involve our solar ego and our lunar emotion. And again, this is how both Venus and Mars can cohabitate in their domiciles successfully. Now, something else to add to this tight geometry is Neptune at 29 to 30 degrees of Western Pisces, also in the constellation of Pisces. It forming a right triangle of the new moon with Mercury, all opposed Uranus, with Neptune contributing the 90-degree right angle. To help you visualize this is essentially half of a grand trine kite. And you know how we were just discussing sharp, cutting objects? The imagery of this triangle aspect, it's very sharp, like a spearhead or an arrow, and it involves so many planets. It's almost like it's a cutting arrow or a spearhead pointing straight at the new moon with Mercury. So I suppose it's up to us to decide what we will be imbuing into our words and communications. Will we use those to pierce through someone's ego with the cutting intent to hurt their feelings? Or alternatively, will we imbue them with love? Will we be like Cupid, the deity of love, and instead send out the arrow of love and acceptance and relationship and partnership? Will we synergize our polarized energies to work together and communicate and harmonize? Because even with all our differences, our strengths complement one another. And we need to recognize and appreciate that. This is where we achieve Libra's desire for balance and harmony. So, I want to thank you all for listening. And remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this new moon astrology reading. This is Brave Astrology, where every new moon brings a new opportunity. Thank you and take care.